Mr. Derrick, how you doing, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad we got to do this. I had a crazy night and we fit it in.
Right.
And you have a crazy day too.
Yeah.
You're so busy.
I'm very busy. I'm very busy.
Why are you so busy?
Try and do multiple things really well all the time. You know,
Yeah, I have a problem with that too. And I always get one, why are you doing so much? In terms of spreading yourself thin, like, can you really get good at so many things? Do you believe that we could get good at a lot of things instead of getting like generally or like really, really, really fucking good at like one or two things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I struggle with that. The jack of all trades, master of none kind of situation.
But like, there's this other saying too. It's jack of all trades, master of one. Mm-hmm. You know, and like, I choose to believe that because I feel like you can do a lot of things and be really, really good at one. But like, some people don't believe that at all.
I believe that you can get moderately good at a lot of things, but it's the way in which you combine them.
What do you mean?
Well, I think about like maybe Elon Musk, right there. He has his hands in space and boring and electric cars.
Yeah.
But
this dude's fucking making fire torches and shit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But he also has like a lot of capital and really great teams.
Sure.
And so, you know, maybe he got really great at leadership and organization and being a visionary. But whenever it comes to development, maybe his second thing that he's great at is collaboration, and he puts those things together.
Yeah.
And he's able to do all of this and make it all work.
Yeah. So you're saying like these high-end skills, these top skills, trickle down, and then versus the menial tasks and stuff like that, it's totally different. He's not doing that. Is that what you mean?
A little bit. Let me try a better example, which would be I'm a founder and CEO of a technology company.
Okay.
What's it called? It's called Findaspot.
Findaspot?
Findaspot, as well as a producer of independent feature films.
Okay.
But what I learned from Findaspot, I was able to translate into my producing work because everything has the same foundation. You need a business strategy and a competitive market analysis before you really go forward in a meaningful way. And it's true for tech and it's true for movies.
Yeah.
And one is very black and white business. You need to get partners, you need growth, you need scale.
Sure.
And the other thing is very subjective. Like, how do you tell a good story, and like, how do you know what will tickle people and, you know, make them want to come back and see your films?
That's interesting. I think a lot of skills can be used in different jobs and everything like that. Like, I don't know, I went to school for sociology, you know, and statistics. So that's a little bit of math there. I was a math major for a little bit. And especially with this tip out sheets, bro, you got to be good at math. Yes. Lavo friends, you'll understand that. But like these skills that I learned from like talking to people and just like communication, learning how to read, write, and like articulate your thoughts properly, you know, might not seem that big of a deal, like just like outside of college, but what we're doing right now in terms of like anything in LA, you have to be really good at talking to people. You have to articulate your thoughts and make other people understand where you're coming from in the way that you're thinking. Yeah. And yeah, you know how those skills go into like anything too.
Absolutely. And that's like why acting is so valuable, because people don't necessarily want to invest in a product, but they will invest in your passion. That's something that we learn fundraising for money.
What do you mean for acting?
Well, because acting is about like creating the mirror neurons that work in people. Are you familiar with the mirror neurons? Like,
no, I'm not.
Whenever we see, let's say, for instance, Nicolas Cage on a 50-foot screen, and he's crying and he's really feeling it, there's a psychological response in human beings that make us also want to feel what he's feeling.
Is that why people cry in movies when like other people are crying, or people are yelling when like we'll yell in a movie because like something's, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Okay. Yes, that's exactly it. That's part of the mirror neuron experience, and that's directly tied into salesmanship. If you go into a room and you're not confident about the product that you're selling, nobody else is going to be either. But you could literally walk in there with, you know, a ball of tinfoil, and as long as you're really excited about it and understand the future that it possibly entails for everybody and the enthusiasm that you have for this ball of tinfoil. Like, why doesn't everybody else want to invest in this ball of tinfoil?
Yeah.
Now is your chance. Like, people want to jump on a moving train. They see your excitement. They feed off of that energy.
Yeah. What did you call it? Did you watch The Pursuit of Happiness?
Yeah.
With Will Smith? You know how he goes into the interview dressed in like painting clothes, and he's just blatantly excited, and then everyone's like looking at his outfit, and then all of a sudden, no one's paying attention to it. And he like sold himself and like basically did what you exactly just said right there.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's an excellent example of how, having a skill in one area can translate into a useful tool for another area.
Yeah.
And so it's
and
not
so
necessarily
I feel like
about...
with you, all those are kind of like intertwined.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was talking about. Like, oh, maybe I'm not a master of just one thing, but all of the stuff
Other
that I'm
things
kind
are
of...
making you better at the other ones.
Yeah. All the
Okay.
stuff I'm moderately good at, I cherry pick and use for whatever goal I have in front of me.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know if mine go together because mine's like bitters and then bartending, then working out. I feel like they're the opposite.
Well, no, bitters and bartending have to go hand
They
in hand.
definitely
for
go
sure,
together.
for
Those
sure.
definitely go together.
But working out is such a discipline too. Like, I have a huge admiration for people who are able to stay fit and regimented. To me,
Yeah.
if I see somebody who has a well taken care of physique, I know they have a tremendous amount of self-discipline.
Yeah.
That they have a game plan. You just don't go into a gym and pick random machines and end up looking good.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, that whole aspect, it could be like life things too. Like, you are your standards, so like you look at someone's body, right? That's their standard. Like, that's what they set their standard as, and that's what they are. Like, if their standard was to have like a six-pack and be at 5% body fat and run every single day, that's where they were. You just have to raise your standards to where you want to be or lower them, like vice versa. And that could be for any aspect of life,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
what do you call it? How did you get into acting, dude?
How did I get into acting? In high school, there was a drama class.
Where are you
in
from?
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was like a lot of like being into sports. And I was not a sports person. And I just like performative stuff.
How were you into sports, but you weren't a sports person?
No. I was never into sports.
Okay.
Yeah, I was never a sports person.
So you never played sports or anything?
No, I mean, I played the occasional like junior high on the junior high baseball team,
Sure.
and it's just like out in right field being like, I don't like this, But whenever I got to junior high, there was band, and I was like, oh, cool, I like to perform. And so I was in band.
How did you know you wanted to perform or like to perform?
I just did. I don't know. I just knew that like art appealed to me more so than like 4-H club or anything else.
Okay, like art class?
Yeah, just
Okay.
like anything that had to do with the arts, I was already drawn to, and I knew that's where I wanted to spend my time more so than anywhere else. And then, so I played music up until the point where in high school, if you wanted to remain in band, you had to march at all the football games. And I was like, I don't want to march. I love playing. I love concert band, but like dressing up in those suits.
Where do you think that came from, bro? The marching and band. Like, I've never thought about that.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's. I think it's probably a result of people saying like, "Well, I'm tired of going to the concert hall. Why don't you guys come to me?"
Yeah, do you think it could be because it didn't get a lot of attention too? Like, band in or playing instruments, and then like they're like, oh, here's the football stadium where there's a ton of people who like sports, and we're gonna implement it into like the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Well, I mean, music is such a huge part of it. I mean, like, they're just as important as, like, let's say the cheerleaders. You're like, well, you could still have a football game without cheerleaders.
Sure.
True. Yeah. You could also have a football game without the band. But, like, if you don't get everybody saying go fight, win, or, like, somebody starting the wave, the band is actually, like, a big backbone of sports arena energy, for sure.
So you played in band.
I did play in band.
Okay, but you didn't do the marching part.
But I didn't do the marching part, so I got out of band because
Did people get mad at you for not doing the marching part?
Well, no, because at that point I had jumped ship because I was like, I didn't want to march so much that I decided that I would become the mascot.
Oh, you were not a mascot.
I was.
How was it being in a mascot uniform, bro? That's an experience that I've never had.
It's really hot. It's so hot, Nate. It's so hot. I was Willie the Wildcat. I had this
Willie the Wildcat.
10-gallon head. I had the tail and the
I gotta see a
4
picture
finger
of this
gloves.
one time.
Yeah, I'll rustle up some Facebook
Let's go.
photos for sure. But yeah, and then I thought like, oh, that's really cool. I get to write and create my own sketches, and I get to hang out
for the mascot. For the mascot.
Yeah.
For
Willie the Wildcat.
Wildcat.
Because
There you
I
go.
would be able to be on like our sidelines, and
Okay.
like in between each play, you do something to entertain the crowd, and you always have to have something new or
Yeah.
something like that would be a fan favorite. You got to go
Okay.
up into the stands, and I really loved performing in that aspect. So whenever there was a drama club opening in high school, I was like, well, I'm gonna do that. And then by the time I graduated high school, I was looking at LSU's course catalog.
Okay.
They're an agricultural and engineering college. Giant. You
Re-
remember
rewind
course-
real quick.
Yeah, what's up?
So you literally came up with like skits and stuff as Willie the Wildcat to like do whatever.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like my dad is a furniture upholsterer, so
Uh-huh.
he would like make like a Superman cape for me, and I would go out and do like a little Superman bit. The cheerleaders would
Those
help
were
me
probably
out.
legit costumes because I mean your dad did them and he does it for a living.
Yeah,
They're probably legit.
yeah, they were real legit. People were like, "How can I get that?" And like, well, you can call Dennis Denicola, and
There
they'll
we
whip
go.
something up for you.
Nice. So then you got into drama.
Then I got into
and
drama, yeah.
You basically did the same thing of like what you're doing for like the mascot, but just on a like a bigger scale, more artistic scale.
More collaborative scale,
Okay.
because as the mascot, it was just kind of me,
Mm-hmm.
and then with drama, it was scenes with multiple people,
Okay.
and then started like learning like, oh, there are other people who really like doing this stuff too,
Mm.
and you could see how people are. This guy's good at comedy, and this person can cry on cue, and oh, that's amazing. And then you
People
just,
were crying on cue in high school.
okay, maybe not.
No, I'm like,
Maybe not.
Maybe. I mean,
Maybe.
there's little girls, little boys on TV who are crying to their parents, like, and they're 10-year-old actors. You know?
That's true. I can't recall specifically someone crying on cue, but I do remember thinking like, that person's really good at comedy, or like there's a reason that they're the class clown. And I felt like, oh, I have a lot to learn here because I am not a class clown. I had a very like good student complex. My notes have notes, you know, I would go home and study.
I could tell that about you, bro.
Yeah.
I think I'm in between. I think like my notes don't have notes, and then yeah, that's basically that. I write down kind of okay notes, not great.
Right, yeah, my handwriting is terrible.
So back to the drama part, bro. When I was in high school, drama was seen as like not cool, not the thing to do, and like I grew up playing like music and stuff like that, but like in high school, again, that was not the cool thing to do, right? And was that the case for you as well?
Yeah, I was also like, I wouldn't say it wasn't I just didn't, at that time, I didn't know it wasn't the cool thing to do. You know,
Like, why do you think it's perceived as that? Because in movies, as well as just like when you're actually in high school or around those ages, it's always portrayed that way.
Right, and I think that's a product maybe of our generation, because I don't think it's that way anymore. You know,
Yeah.
I think kids have been like overexposed to all sorts of walks of life and all sorts of different stories that they can go to the movies and see. But you know, we were limited to whatever movies studios were putting out, and then the archetypes that those characters played into, and the drama kids were the
And then it affected
weird
like
kids.
how our actual schooling was.
Yeah, and then people want to go and like recreate what they saw in the movies because the movies made them feel good.
Yeah.
And so it's important to be the jock and the cheerleader, and like you could feel good even as the underdog, because you know by Act 3 in your school day you will be the hero.
I mean, if you're that self-aware as a 17-year-old kid in high school, I applaud you.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I was kind of that kid reading Nietzsche in the corner.
You were reading Nietzsche. You stoic, bro?
I guess. I've always told people that ever since I was 14, I was 40.
Yeah. I think we're very similar in that aspect, because Yeah, I always have got along with older people my entire life. I don't know why. I always dated older people or older women for, like, I don't know why I relate to people who've lived longer, I guess.
Yeah. Well, my wife is actually, older than me, and I feel the same way. I have a tendency to date older, and a lot of my friends end up being women, usually because women have matured faster than men.
You think that's the case?
I think so, at least early on. But now at this point in my life, everybody's just kind of mature because we're older.
Yo, I know some like 40 or 50-year-olds who act like they're 15 though, and vice versa.
Yep.
I mean, like you'll see the 17-year-old kid too who was reading Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And, you'll see baby Derrick out there.
Yeah. And I'll hang out with that kid too.
Yeah, so we were talking about after drama, you continue.
Oh, right. Then I was headed to LSU, and I was looking through this giant course catalog.
God. You went to LSU?
I did. Why'd you say, oh my God?
Because it's such a big sports school.
It is. Oh, man. Oh, you should. You're absolutely right. College football in the South is God. It reigns supreme.
Yeah, this is so funny that you're you went to LSU. You're from Louisiana.
Yeah.
And you're just not a sports guy.
Not a sports guy. You know what it was? Is like my dad was really, really, and still is to this day, into LSU, has his own LSU room.
Sure.
Wall-to-wall memorabilia.
At your house?
Yeah. My mom had to like concede and give him like a room with like signed LSU lockers and all this kind of stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and
it didn't rub off.
I didn't rub off. I think it had the opposite effect, where it was just like by the time I actually went to LSU, I had been there so many times. He took me to purple and gold scrimmages, all the signing days, and then at some point I started looking at it as like a chore more than something to enjoy.
Yeah.
And so whenever I went to LSU, I maybe went to one LSU football game as a student, even though I'd been several times before as not a student. But I just, it's like, I've been tailgating. I've done it already.
Yeah, dude. I went to UCLA, and I only went to 3 football games.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, I don't know what the appeal is for me, like, when I was in college, and they're like, we're going tailgating, we're going to get fucked up, like, we're going to watch this game and then get fucked up again after. I was like, I could be doing so much more productive things than that. And, like, especially at that point in my life, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to work really, 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 really hard to try to figure that out. And I was like, me, like, partying and, like, watching football games and getting fucked up is, like, a block in trying to figure that other part out.
Yeah.
And that's why sports didn't resonate with me. Like, now I enjoy them a lot. All my friends from, like, high school are obsessed with basketball, baseball, and football.
Yeah.
And I try to get along with them, So you have to understand, like, the lingo. It's like if you're a big actor or an actor and you really enjoy movies and you enjoy the stories, everything like that, especially the ones that are going on currently, and you hang out with, like, other actors, like, you better know your movie quotes or, like, what's going on in the industry. So similar to that.
I kind of play the opposite, which is I lean into my ignorance for comedic effect. And so if, like, I find myself in a situation where I'm with my dude bros and they're watching and they're watching March Madness and they're talking about sports, I will just, like, interject something I know that will signal to them that I don't know what I'm talking about, so they have something to roll their eyes at and go, oh my God, Derrick, blah, blah, blah. But, just like, as long as you have a strong defense, like, there's half court and there's full court, Nate, and you have to play on both.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. I'm not wrong.
That's funny. What do you call it? So you went to LSU for what again?
I went for theater. That's the thing.
Okay.
I was, they have this giant course catalog and, like, so many options of what path you could take with your life. And I was getting overwhelmed. I was like, I don't know what I want to do.
So this was you at LSU. You were already a freshman?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was about to start my freshman year.
Okay. So you were just trying to figure out, did they make you choose, like, your degree and everything like that?
It didn't necessarily have to, but it really helped if you picked a major. Like, I always thought, or I was told, like, you can always pick a major and then you could switch. Okay. Yeah. And so I was like, well, that's what I'll have to do. And so the only thing that really I made like a list of a few things that appealed to me, like psychology, sociology, and then there was this theater curriculum. And in the theater curriculum, they had improv. And I was like, wait a minute. A class where we go and play games and we don't have to study for it sounds like a free A to me. I'm definitely interested. And so I decided to make my my major theater.
Okay.
And so part of that was they had this really great program called the Peer Mentorship Program, where they pair a senior with a freshman, and you follow them around for a day, and they take you to a rehearsal, and then they take you to a theater party
in that program,
and take you to see a show. Yeah. And I got paired with a wonderful man named Lester.
Come on, Lester.
Lester, baby, and he took me to his rehearsal for Tartuffe, and they had a director from New York, and they were studying cartoons. They were studying Looney Tunes to copy the physicality of like how each of their characters would move, how a hero moves, how the villain moves. And then they were doing something called viewpoints, which is where it's really hard to explain viewpoints, but it's moving through space, challenging different perspectives and physicalities of your body. And they
so is it basically like there's an emotion or a feeling that you're trying to have, and you have to put your body in the position of that feeling when someone's describing it?
That is part of it, yeah.
No.
And they were moving through space, experimenting with their body and their physicality, listening to Apocalyptica, which is a string quartet tribute band to Metallica.
Okay.
And so it was like all of this wild creative stuff that I had never seen before. These actors studying cartoons, moving through space, with a string quartet Metallica playing, and it was just so much. And then I remember like stumbling out like drunk off of the creative high out of seeing all of that stuff. And going back to my car in the parking lot, I called my mom like really late at night, maybe like 11:30.
Hey, Mom, I'm doing theater, bro.
That's it. That's it. And I was like, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to be a theater major. And she said, just have a backup plan. Just get a minor.
Yeah, I mean, like every parent says that. Who I guess not every parent says that, because I feel like I know people who parents super support their like creative career their entire life. But I mean, a good chunk of people, especially like immigrated families, from different countries, they're like, become a doctor, lawyer, nurse.
Well, that's instant status. That's instant, like, I think what those families are trying to do is essentially pick up their entire trajectory and pivot in one generation. They put a lot of pressure on kids to do that.
I guess it is instant status, but like what is more valuable to me is like, why don't a lot of parents or like people fight for like personal status? Like, how good do I feel about myself? Like, what am I doing everything that I want to do to make like me the happiest, best version of myself, Yeah. And I feel like that status is way more important to me than like outside status. And I think I've learned to switch that perspective in the last like probably like 4 or 5 years. Because you go ahead. I
was going to say, I think that idea is pretty new age too, because like going back to my parents' generation, like that, the well-being of yourself was directly correlated to how much money you were able to save, and like all of the value that you accrue externally told you how well you felt. This is like being happy without money.
But do you think so? Do you think that's the case? Do you think that generation, even though they track their finances, we're good there, we're good in this aspect of life, did A, B, C, and D, were they satisfied with that, like internally? Maybe not.
Probably not. No. But I mean, they're doing the best that they can to teach us, and so like even if they didn't succeed at like feeling great by working a 9 to 5 and getting their 401k, they still survived with it. And if you can teach your offspring how to survive, I mean, that's a very
primal like instinct. Basically, that's just, you got to do what you got to do to like have the best like life, I guess, and that's what their intuition is, like maybe subconsciously.
Right, and as a parent, I think your first instinct is to provide.
Yeah.
But maybe the first instinct isn't necessarily to provide like self-actualization and happiness. It's like you need a roof over your head. You need food. Those are things that I could provide that I know that you will need in order. Even if you want to be able to work on yourself, you got to have like some food in your stomach. And
yeah, it's crazy that like if you rewind like thousands of years ago, like we're humans, we could basically do a lot of things without like this nice roof over my head or this nice stove or like whatever, and or a bathtub or a shower that works. Like people survived without this stuff, and that's so like essential today.
Yeah,
you know?
But they did survive for a lot less longer. Like the average lifespan, like we
don't got bears eating us in LA, bro.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And like, not to mention like thousands of years ago, you'd be like lucky to live to 40. Like our time would be nearly up. I don't know how old you are, but I'm closer to 40 than...
I'm 25.
Okay, I'm older than you.
There you
I'm
go.
definitely closer to 40.
Nice.
So my time would be nearly up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays people are living to like 120, bro.
Yeah.
And more.
It's really throwing a wrench in like my retirement savings. Like, how long am I expected to live? And also, what kind of quality of life are we going to have living to 120?
I mean, it could be really good. Like, there's some studies that with like proper nutrition, as well as like supplements, as well as like things like surgeries and stuff. Not like those types of surgeries, like surgeries in terms of like if you have a tear, you could fix it, or if you have what are those new cells?
Like stem cells?
Stem cells.
Yeah.
Like stem cells like are way less invasive and helps the body recover in plenty of ways, and they don't really know all of them yet, but like those are great examples. And there's people who are like 100 walking, running every day.
Yeah.
It's weird to see, because like when we grew up, you hear 65, you're like, that's really fucking old. Now you say 65, it's like, okay, like that dude was young, man. You know, it's weird to switch that perspective, because like I think when someone says they're 60, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, like you shouts out, like you look real good, man.
Yeah, I've had to change my frame of references for jokes. Like I used to think like middle age would be like people in their 40s, but now that I'm like
now you're pushing 40, bro.
But now that I'm close to it, I'm like, that doesn't feel like middle. I feel like I still got a lot of juice left in me. You know, I don't like. What is that now? Like, to even be.
I don't know. I feel like what was that one quote? It was a meme that got really, really, really popular a couple weeks ago. It was like, in LA, 30 is the new like 22, and like in a small town, 22 is like the new like 30. It's just the people here, bro, they act like they're trying to live their dreams, they're pursuing what they want to do, and like I think that's just some youthfulness, bro, that makes people younger, in my opinion, because like when you're a kid, like you're just doing whatever you want to do. Like you're gonna pull on that dude's hair, you're gonna pull on that dude's hair. You're gonna like, I don't know, bite someone, you're gonna bite someone. You know, in LA, like if
I'm getting a sense for what kind of child you were.
I don't actually know what type of child that was. But yeah, that's what out here, like if you want to go get something, like you're gonna go bite.
Yeah, I think that's probably why there's a lot of people out here who get good at a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, I see that interests me, that's where my attention is now.
Yeah.
Boom, I'm gonna go for it. I see that, and like, I don't know, there's so many different things to fail at in order to learn, you know. You have to
fail at something.
You have to fail at something.
Yeah.
So.
Is back to, so you told your mom you were going to go to theater. You're like, oh, mom, I'm going to study theater. And did you move to LA, or what was the game?
No, I got a theater degree at LSU,
okay,
which is an agricultural and engineering college, so the best place to get it.
Sick. What was the biggest thing that you learned from LSU? Because obviously you do not need a degree to be an actor.
Yeah, that's what I learned. That's what I learned from LSU. I was like, oh, I didn't really need to do this. I could have just like, it was probably, look, getting up on stage and getting your stage time is really important, acting and over again. But what I learned is that, other people move to LA and they start acting in front of a camera, which is essentially where I wanted to be. I didn't want to, I love the stage, but I also knew like I wanted to get into film and television. And that is kind of a different animal. Like, when you're on the stage, you're being theatrical and you're trying to communicate every last beat of your scene to the back wall.
Why do you think the theater acting and acting on TV is like so different? Because
of the camera. The camera does the audience's work for them. You know, in a theater, you're stationary. You could be in a balcony, in the mezzanine. You could be in the pit.
Yeah, but like when I've seen plays and stuff, they're very like, wow, like,
yeah,
they're like extra.
Yeah, that's for the people in the back room.
Really?
Yeah, but whenever you have a camera that's like seemingly 5 inches close to your face, all of your acting needs to like be behind your eyes, you know.
And you don't need to shout.
And you don't need to shout. Yeah, there's an audio guy there. Like, there's a whole team of people that are giving each what would have normally been an audience member in every sort of different seat the same experience.
Ooh, so how does the mics and stuff work for like big movies? Do you know, like, how do you hear, like, you don't, there's no mic attached to them when they're whispering to somebody, like, you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes they're cleverly hidden, like they have lav mics, which are
like underneath your shirt and
underneath like the lapel or underneath the shirt,
so they'll use those.
Yeah,
and so it's not always like a big hanging mic like above the scene.
Not always, but oftentimes there's a boom mic for sure. And sometimes they'll like, you know, everything about filming a scene is deceiving the audience. Like, we need to make them think we're on a New York subway train at 8 a.m. and there's a sense of danger. And so, you know, whether that's like holding up a laptop outside of a fake window of, you know, subway station footage rushing by or whatever, like, deceive the audience at all costs, but like to get your point. And to that point, they will hide a mic anywhere, underneath your table, on your clothes, inside your hat. Yeah, I mean, everybody is super creative with how they hide things.
Okay, because also wounds. Do you know how they make it like so real?
Yeah, I do. They really kill us. No, there's silicone and latex.
I think
skins.
so I understand the makeup part of it. I'm talking about, like, so say like in a movie you have to shoot somebody and you shoot them and like you see the shirt rip open and then you see like the fake blood, you know, like
what you're describing there are squibs.
Okay.
So squibs are like tiny little explosives that they put on an actor or stunt person's torso. And they have a little small packet of blood. And, you know, you normally, like, you always have, like, at the very least 2, one for rehearsal and one for go time. But usually an actor will know how many squibs are on them, so they know how many times to, you know, jerk their body from left to right.
Okay.
And they'll it's kind of odd to see squibs now because CGI got so good and there's so much good like fake blood stuff that you can do, but squibs are cool. They're like one of the last like live action effects that people still use.
That's crazy. I was always curious to see how that happened because I thought it was so cool. I was like, is that person really dead? Like when you're like 10 years old seeing like, I don't know, The Matrix, and you're like, Mom, like, is that guy really dead? And my mom's like, shh, like in the movie theater.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you did this theater thing in LSU, and were you like, let's do it, let's move to LA?
Yeah, kind of. There was tax incentives for filmmakers in Louisiana at the time that I was graduating. So
were you doing film like in school too?
I was starting to do both. I was still acting on stage my senior year, and then the film industry started booming with these tax incentives. So a bunch of LA productions came to Louisiana in order to get like 40% of their budget back if they filmed in Louisiana and hired X amount of Louisiana actors and crew.
Just because of the tax?
Just because of the tax incentives. Yeah. Okay. People just follow the money because making a film is hard. getting people to give you money to make a film is hard, and then like making a good film is hard.
Extremely hard.
Like and then to make a great film, you're so lucky, you know?
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, people take whatever opportunities they can get, and they're like, yeah, I'll move from LA to Louisiana for a month and shoot this country sci-fi thriller thing.
And that's going to be the tax in Louisiana just because the work is actually done in Louisiana, even if you live somewhere else.
Well, you have to, part of the tax incentives in Louisiana were that you had to hire a certain amount of Louisiana crew and cast.
Okay.
In order to get essentially like a rebate on your budget.
Yeah.
Which people would just turn over again and use for marketing or
okay.
whatever. But yeah, and so I was starting to audition for film roles in Louisiana, and I kept seeing these character breakdowns, and I was like, I want to audition for that role there instead of this like 2-line thing here. And they were like, oh, well, we'd love to, but we're actually casting that out of Los Angeles.
Oh.
So they bring in their big guns from Los Angeles, and then like all the Louisiana people like were filler.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, fine. So whenever I graduated, I moved to Los Angeles.
Like right away?
Right away. And in the first 3 months...
Did you pack a car? Did you fly there?
I packed up my Prius.
Okay.
Jam-packed it with absolutely everything. I was very fortunate that my brother was actually living out here a year before me. And we lived together for maybe the first year and a half that I was in Los Angeles. And then we got our own lives and stuff. But yeah, in the first 3 months, I booked a project that shot in Louisiana. So I had this big farewell. Everybody's like, LA or bust. Good luck, Derrick.
Yeah.
Go get him, Tiger. Blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, thanks. And then I packed up my stuff and I drove out to LA. And then the next few months I was back being like, hey, well, I'm here to shoot a movie.
That's so cool. Especially the first 3 months. That's awesome. That's relatively good affirmation.
It is.
You know?
It really was.
Because there's a lot of people who will move out here and not book anything for a very long time or at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it was tough. Los Angeles, I had no preconceived notion about Los Angeles. All I knew is that it was where the work that I wanted to do was.
Yeah, I think I just figured this out the last few years, especially since my girlfriend's a dancer. All the work is out here, and then acting is not the same as it is in New York here. It's literally the hub of so many industries, and I don't really understand why. All the big news things are here, Universal's here, Warner Brothers right here, literally within a mile radius of my place, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just why is it all in one spot?
Yeah, I don't know about why it's all in one spot, but I will say that it does have a certain amount of gravitas. Whenever you, if you go somewhere else and you say that you're an actor from, Los Angeles, and everybody just kind of folds in and
tell me
wow,
more. Yeah, you know?
Do you know any stars? Tell me, what's it like? Yeah, I'm like, oh, well, to me, it's a big city that I live in, and it's full of other people like me who are just hustling every moment that they can get.
It's unfazing too, because especially since me and you work at Lavo by Tao, and a lot of high-end people come in, right? And maybe actors, musicians, whatever, and I don't get fazed at all. And it's weird because they're in these movies that are worldly wide known, and you're just oh, it's cool, that's XYZ guy, you know?
Yeah,
it's weird because I'll tell my mom about it and my mom will freak the fuck out, and I'm just it's not that big a deal.
It's true. Yeah, you know what I find is I was telling my mom about waiting on celebrities, and she's like, oh my god, what are they like? I was like, I don't know, they just kind of ordered some Cokes and a steak and had a nice wine with their meal. But the more interesting thing is watching other people watch them in the restaurant. And all of the are we allowed to say who came into the restaurant? Or
I think we signed an NDA, so probably not.
Okay, so let's say one of the, if you could think of the biggest movie star in America, and whatever you're thinking of is probably right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this very handsome, famous gentleman is sitting at a table, and And I'm overhearing girls at another table, women at another table, orchestrate a game plan on like how they're going to casually
100%,
quote unquote
take a photo,
bump into
okay.
and like what their game plan is. Like, oh, I feel like I know you. Do I know you? And he looks at them like just deadpan, and like he knows what's going on. He knows the game at this point.
Wow.
And he's like, yes, you do. And they're like, oh, okay, blah, 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 blah. And they're just like, and then, you know,
the fact that he said, yes, you do.
Yes, you do, right? Like he's over this like little back and forth. Like, oh, you probably know me from such and such. And so, you know, we go on about our jobs, but then I see them like on the way to the bathroom, like grabbing each other like they're in junior high, talking about their crushes on their way to like their science class, being like, oh my God, is this really happening? Is it really happening?
It's weird, bro, because like, there's these 3 ladies who sat at the bar the other day, and they got a picture with someone who came in, right? Mm-hmm. And probably mid-50s, dude. And they were like, oh my God, like, do you want to see the picture that we took with? And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, yo, you're a grown-ass woman, bro. Like,
yeah. It's like someone showing you their breakfast on Instagram. Like, great. Those look like great blueberry muffins. I hope you enjoy them.
Yo, so a good picture of blueberry muffins makes me salivate.
If they are good, I do want to know where they came from.
Yeah. It's weird, though, especially with that concept, because you're looking at a photo, everyone takes pictures of their food, like, phone eats first. Mm-hmm. And, like, when you look at it, it makes you hungry, especially if it's, like, something that looks appealing, even though it's just like food. You don't have the senses, you're not smelling it, you don't actually see it in front of you, like you can't actually eat it, but then you're still like, I want to eat, I want to go to the store and grab that.
Yeah, I don't like that. It gives me a sense of FOMO. I'm like, I'm not hungry, but I want to eat that thing.
I know.
Like, why
I know.
am I doing
all
this to
these
myself?
like Instagram, TikTok videos, dude. First off, like when people say social media doesn't teach you stuff, like TikTok and Instagram can teach you how to cook. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You want to cook anything, you'll find it in 30 seconds on there. Uh-huh. But sorry, I forgot where we were. Moved to LA, stayed with your brother, and you booked your gigs, and that was cool, right? Yeah. Where did you want to go? Like, because right now you do a lot more things than you were just there. Yeah. And what made you disperse into like the things that you're doing now?
Because even though I was getting cast pretty regularly, like it wasn't ever anything really big, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I just remember, you know, things starting to slow down and thinking, but I'm not ready to slow down. So what do? You create your own stuff. Yeah. And even as far back as high school, I was excelled in English. I loved creative writing stories. I always had stories. And so then it just started being one of those things where it's like, well, I want to tell this story, and I'm going to figure out how to, and I'm going to gather all my friends together, and we're not going to worry about lighting, where it's going to be a black and white story. We're going to set it in the past. We're going to go to the park, you know, where we have production value, and we're going to just tell this little love story, you know. Yeah. One of the first things that I shot out here was with a bunch of my LSU friends who also like graduated and moved to Los Angeles, and we just did a Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton-esque type little black and white thing.
That's lit.
Yeah, and
gets your reps in.
Huh?
Gets your reps in.
Exactly, get the reps in, and then you know you show that to somebody, and they're like, "Oh, cool! I had an idea too." I'm like, "Well, what's your idea, and how can I help you?" And, you know, it was I didn't know what I was doing at first, but like looking back on it,
I feel like everyone doesn't know what they're doing. Right?
Nobody knows what they're doing, but like looking back, at the very least, what you're doing by working consistently is like building a network and getting an idea of what it takes to make something, and that's really invaluable out here. Yeah,
I mean, I was watching this video today, and basically, everyone has skills. The government could take away your house, it could take away like all the money that you have, or everything. Everything could be taken away except your skills, like what you can do, and like what you have and invest in yourself, you know. And like the more ways that you could cut corners by like, hey, like how did you do this? Or like for example, like you're trying to start a podcast with Danny Joe, you're trying to figure it out, like versus trying to figure it out on your own, you just asked. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And that collaboration like probably saved you like few weeks at least.
Oh, for sure. And there was this one actor who he was like I worked on this movie called Go For It, and his name's Al Bandiero, and he used to be a very
name.
well, he used to be a wildly popular, and still is to this day, a wildly popular New York DJ. And he was just telling me about all of his life experiences. And one thing that he said that stuck with me was like, Derrick, you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so I just always
Just
ask.
ask.
It never hurts to ask.
Yeah, and the worst it says is no.
Yeah, and I was already there. Cool.
Yeah. Where do you think stories come from, bro? Because like, I don't know, the biggest one would be like Harry Potter, right? This all came from this woman's brain. Like these ideas, this whole concept, like for example, like Quidditch, the sport, like invented out of like thin air. And you create stories. Like, where do you think these ideas come from?
I'm gonna tell you something that somebody else told me that I use all the time.
Okay.
The director that I work with a lot, his name is Gabriel Saint, and he always has a lot of music analogies. And he says that the brain is like a mixing board.
Okay.
So whatever you put into it is what you're gonna get out of it.
Okay.
And so if it was J.R. Tolkien, I think, or
Tolkien, yeah, for Lord of the Rings.
Who wrote Harry Potter? I forgot.
J.K. Rowling.
Jesus, they're so close, and I get them confused. J.K. Rowling. So, it's probably an amalgamation of a lot of her experiences, like Quidditch. Is basically she knows she's writing a book about wizards and witches, and so how do you get around on brooms? Okay, but what is the mixture of like how you play a sport on broomsticks? And maybe she picked football, or maybe she picked soccer, and it was like soccer on broomsticks is Quidditch, and all of your experiences are just gonna find ways to combine into what seem like new ideas, but really,
I don't know. You look at like Stephen King, bro, and you look at it, right? You're like, what experience makes you want to create this crazy fucking clown, bro, with a red balloon? Like,
Yeah. Stephen King is awesome, but I read his book about, I forget what it's called, but it was about how he writes.
On writing.
It's called On Writing. Thank
On
you.
Writing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And, he went through so many bad ideas too. He talked about having like a huge stake in his wall where he would collect rejection letters, all the no's that he got. And so every time he would submit a story and he got a no, he would take that letter and he would stab it on his wall.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that whole thing got freaking full, and he was
No
like,
way.
I might have to get another stake or whatever. But eventually, I mean,
It's like the ticket stabber at work, bro.
but eventually, like all that stuff like came with feedback, and they were telling him, this is great, but it's too long. This is great, but it's not the right genre, And so people were even like helping him in a non-conventional way by offering him a bunch of no's with criticism that steered his writing into a certain direction. I mean, he was about to throw away Carrie before his wife picked it out of the trash and saved it.
I did not know that. That's wild. Yeah, I don't know. I guess my question was a little bit deeper than that, in the sense that because he had those ideas and he got all these rejections, and those ideas just got better and better and better and better. Like if I have an idea about a story and I think about it, I don't do anything about it though. Like I don't tell it to anybody, I don't write it down, blah, blah, blah. Derrick, you'll think of a story, and it turns out that might be the exact same story. And you fill it out, you put it out in the world, and I'm over here like, that was my idea. So many people have that, like, and some people think ideas like transfer from person to person if they don't accept it. What's her name? Elizabeth Gilbert.
The magical think.
Big Magic.
Big Magic, yeah.
Right? And she had that example in the book. You're like, oh, I wrote this book. And then I collabed with someone. It was the exact same fucking book. I mean, not exactly. Like, obviously, the narratives were different. But, like, all the characters were the same.
Right.
You know, and I just find that weird sometimes because like that happens a lot.
Yeah, but you know, I think I don't know. I know it happens a lot, but I don't find it weird because there's just no more original ideas. Like after you've, like, let's say whenever you get that idea, right, and you like hold it.
What do you mean
near
there's no
heart.
more original ideas?
Well, there's only like so many like plots and relationships, like father to son, best friends, odd man out. Like there's a certain amount of like relationships that you can categorize, and like there's just only a certain amount of way that human beings have ever related to each other. And then that's your relationship. And then there's plots, and there's only so many plots humans have ever had that are relatable. There's only so many things that really motivate human beings to do something. Save a life, save the life of others, money, love, respect, like all of those things are categorized and quantified. And it's always like just being remixed. And to the point that you were making about like having an idea that somebody else also had. Well, maybe you're also ingesting, like to go back to the mixing board analogy, maybe you're ingesting the same ideas, the same TV shows, the same stories, and people's brains work in similar ways that whenever you let your subconscious run and you think, well, what if Walking Dead, everybody turned alive again? And it's because you watched Walking Dead and then you watched Rudy afterward and had like an inspirational moment where like maybe we can save everybody who's dead.
I guess I get the ideas aspect in a actor's world, but let me put it in like technology, right? You look at Steve Jobs, he had this idea of like, oh, I want to have a buttonless phone. Everyone's like, no, dude, that's never gonna happen, right? That's not a recycled idea. This is a new idea.
Yeah.
And he took it and he made it happen, right? So that's brand new, right?
Yeah.
But like someone else could have picked up that idea. Someone said like, I had an idea of this being like a screen, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
a flat screen.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's also like there's visionaries and futurologists as well.
What's a futurologist?
A futurologist is someone who basically looks at the trajectory of where we've been, where we are, and then uses that information to try and extrapolate where we're going to be. They're thought leaders. They're like, if this is true, if that was true, and this is true now, then this might be true in the future.
Yeah.
And it's still subjective. Like there's no guarantees.
I feel like a lot of authors are that. Like if you look at Fahrenheit 451, right, and their fingerprint scanning to get in the door, or like like Electric, and that book was written decades ago. Yeah. And like now that's real. Yeah. That's a thing.
Well, I remember Arthur C. Clarke's Imperial Earth.
I remember that.
Is one of the characters. It's been a long time since I read it too, but they basically had an iPhone in there, and it was like the lead character's best friend dies in some sort of accident. How long ago was
this written?
Oh God, I don't know.
Like
70s maybe? Okay. I don't know. But the main character's best friend dies in kind of a suspicious way, and everybody in the future has this like little box that they carry around with them, and they can unlock it, and it contains all of their documents and all of their recordings and all of their private things about their life. And so it's about him trying to unlock his friend's quote unquote iPhone to figure out how he really died.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that technology's like moving that quickly, because it's not that long ago.
Right.
And just the time that we've been alive, you're like, whoa, what is happening? Like, it kind of scares me because I can't get around LA without my iPhone.
It used to be Tom's Guide, and is it Tom's or Thomas Guide? Thomas Guide.
Thomas Guide. I just remember like the old navigation things. You could get it from, I don't know, I got mine from Costco. I stuck it up there.
Like a TomTom? Then like or a Magellan or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you would just follow this navigation, right? And then before that, like was, I don't even know, like a map and compass, right? I don't know.
I think before that was Thomas Guide. It was this big, thick book with a huge index.
Oh yes, I do.
Streets.
I do remember. Okay, it basically shows like the city and like everything. It's basically like a map in book form, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And you had to figure stuff out that way.
Did you use that?
No, I was right on the cusp.
Okay.
Whenever I moved to LA, I had a TomTom, And then my friend who had moved here a little bit before me was like, you got to get a Thomas guide. And I'm like, I don't think I do, man. I don't think I have to do this anymore. I think we're at a new point in the future now.
Yeah. Do you think LA is, I don't know. Do you think you're going to be here for a long time?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to moving. It's just that everything that I want to do is here. I've
Yeah.
also like invested a ton of time in networking and like
that's one thing that I like here. There's a lot of people that you can meet every day from every walk of life, and I think there's good people out here too. Like a lot of people don't talk about the good people out here, but all my friends are great, dude.
yeah,
Like,
and in a city with millions of people, odds are some of them are going to be good. yeah. It's just more fun to tell the bad stories for sure.
Yeah, everyone always talks about the shitty parts, and I'm just like, LA's not that bad, bro. Like, there's a reason why it's romanticized and that there's millions of people that live here.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's something very like romantic about like a city where a bunch of people who have a dream have come together to like try and make it come true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though one of my favorite overheard LAs is LA is just actors serving other actors food.
I mean, that's kind of accurate.
It's not true.
It's not true. Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know why so many people do it. I mean, it's hard. Like,
it's very hard.
The percentage of like getting that quote unquote success and just like doing all the side gigs to like make that uncommon success become true for you.
But you could also like fail at playing it safe. Like one of my favorite inspirational speeches came from Jim Carrey talking about how his father was one of the funniest people
that speech was great.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, that's true
What
too.
was it? Like you could fail at something that you're not good at. I mean, that you don't want to do. So you might as well fail at something that you like.
Yeah, exactly.
Something along those lines.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I think that's what people are out here for.
Which is cool. Yeah. I just sometimes like I'll find myself pursuing something. I'm like, why the fuck are you doing this, bro? Like this is way harder than like you could have it, you know?
Well, it's always like the dream is always so much nicer than the reality. Like everything turns out to be work. As a matter of fact, like people often will, once they find out I produce stuff, they're like, ooh, I have stuff that I want to make. I'm like, okay, well, it's hard to do. Have you done these steps and these steps and these steps first?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no, that sounds like a lot of work. I'm like, well, then maybe this isn't
for you.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, because they always find the romanticized part of it.
Yeah.
You know, like I always thought business was romanticized. Like I was like, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur in like the last like 10 years. And then like I started reading like these business books about like getting your LLC and like making a business plan and, you know, all these things. And I was like, this is boring as shit.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, no one talks about this. Why isn't Gary Vee talking about like the accounting part of business? And I was like, fuck that.
Yeah. And there are no like overnight successes. Like you just hear about them one day, you know, but they are completely neglecting the narrative of them working at IHOP, you know, 6 days a week. And
who is that guy from, what's that big HBO show?
There's a lot of big HBO shows.
The one with Zendaya in it.
Oh, Euphoria.
Euphoria. So what's the white guy, the drug dealer guy?
I mean, I know the character. But I don't know
so
the actor.
that character was someone posted like a TikTok of like that guy serving them at a restaurant not that long ago, dude. Mm-hmm. And like probably like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, he's killed it. It's one of the best TV shows of like the last 10 years.
Yeah,
you
man.
know?
It's tough. Like you never know when your next gig is going to come from. It's hard to give up steady revenue.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
But I remember I had a similar story where I was working the red car. I was on the red carpet for this movie Go For It back in the day. It had done really well in the indie film festival circuit. It was getting distribution by Lionsgate, and we got to do a red carpet walk down the El Capitan. And we were getting interviewed, and we were sponsored by like Hyundai, and they were like, say that you love the new Hyundai Elantra. I'm like, we love the new Hyundai, whatever. All this like really kind of like glamorous stuff, and then everybody gets to the end of the red carpet and they go in to watch the movie. And then I get to the end of the red carpet and I run back to Hollywood and Highland where I'd parked my car, go to my car and change into my outfit for House of Blues, because I was basically a glorified janitor there. And I went to the House of Blues and worked my shift and was like putting sawdust on vomit and sweeping it up, like, and that was happening in the same day.
What?
Yeah. And
that's wild.
Yeah. And I think the notion that like once you've been on the big screen you're like set for life or you have a ton of money is just so wrong and skewed.
No, it's funny because like when I grew up and I was watching TV, any character on TV, I was just like, they're rich and famous. But that's not the case at all.
Not the case at all.
Because there's plenty of people who've been on like TV shows that I've seen out here like who are very well known, but they're still scraping by. Yeah,
I think, who was it? Jeremy Renner was still like flipping houses before he got Hurt Locker, or
I don't know who that is.
He was Hawkeye in all of the Marvel.
Yes.
Movies.
Okay. No way.
Yeah.
That's wild. Dude, so what's Findaspot?
Findaspot is my technology company. It's
How do you get into a technology company, bro?
Well, because of acting.
Okay.
Whenever I first moved out here, I wrote a pilot that I was going to go pitch to a production company.
And a pilot is like a small movie, like basically like...
A pilot is the first episode of a potential series.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I went out to pitch it to this production company, and I didn't know where anything was, or more importantly, how long it really took to get there in LA traffic.
Yeah.
Like, to travel 5 miles in Louisiana takes no time at all. To travel 5 miles through LA, oh my God, right? And so...
A few hours, sometimes.
And so I told them where I was, they told me where they were, and they were like, oh my God, well, that's kind of a long way away. What's in between us? And we'll meet there. And I was like, I don't know. I just moved here. I don't know. Like, forget about it. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. It'll be fine.
Oh, no.
And so as I was growing later and later for that meeting in like bumper to bumper traffic, not really realizing how long it would take, I was just like, this can never happen again. While I'm stuck in this bumper to bumper traffic, I'm going to go on the App Store. I'm going to look for an app that tells me what's in between multiple locations.
Okay.
And they didn't have one. And then I was like, oh, but it's so simple. Why don't they? It's so simple. Why don't they?
Yeah.
And I just sat stewing in the car thinking, is this a good idea? And then I called my mom and I was like, I had this idea for an app. Do you think that's a good idea? And she was like, oh, I love it. And I was like, well, you're my mom. You love everything. You're so supportive. Let me call somebody else. And I called my brother, who I think would be a little bit more honest with me if it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And he loved it too. And I was like, okay. And then I got the wheels rolling and I got a patent on it. And then finally partnered up with the right developer. His name's Mitch Lucis. He's my business partner.
Okay.
And he like really brought it to life and coded the shit out of it, and it's got a wonderful user experience and interface.
So that's what it does. So Findaspot finds a middle location for meeting spot in Los Angeles.
Anywhere in North American territories.
Okay.
Yeah, so Canada and parts of Mexico. It actually works in England and Germany too.
Okay, what spot are you trying to find? Like, is it a meeting spot? Like,
you tell us and we'll find it for you. For instance, we have we filter all of our results through Yelp. So you have 30,000 plus categories to choose from.
That's a lot.
You want to go to a bar, you want to go to a movie, you want to go rock climbing, you need a dog park, wherever you want. You can literally search for it. And if it's in between you, we'll plan the fastest route to get there, and you could share it with your friends. You could share with multiple friends if you're planning like a bigger party or bigger get together. And it also gets used a lot for along the way route planning. You know, you're headed somewhere and you want to stick to some.
When did you start that?
I think 2000, and it's like the idea came around like 2013 or something like that.
Okay.
It came to fruition. It came to fruition around 2017, 2018. And
so
then we had a year of growth. And then it was the year of having the worst time to have an app to help people meet together face to face.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we just kind of like stayed low and just like kept working on the app. And now coming out of post-pandemic, we're getting back on the ball and looking for partnerships and stuff like that.
Okay. How, dude, what's the feeling like you have this idea of like, I'm going to make an app that sets a middle point for a meeting, and it's happened. You could download it on your phone. You could see it. Like, the similar feeling would be for me. Like, me and my buddy, like, wanted to come up with this bitters company, right? And now we have a bottle, and we actually have bitters in it, and it's really fucking good. And what's that feeling like for you, dude? Because it literally just, this idea, back to ideas, like, popped up in your head, and it's real now.
Yeah, it's a little unbelievable. It's like, it's the first thing was like denial a little bit. Like, this isn't, is it? Is it? Okay, I see that it's real, but is it like any good, you know? Or like how real is it? Is anybody ever going to use it? And then, you know, the numbers start coming in, and then it's like, oh, it's growing organically, and people are recommending this to their friends, and there's a higher use for this than you ever imagine. And then all of a sudden you're thinking like, okay, we have, I don't know, for example, 30,000 users. Like, I know I don't have 30,000 friends and family. So there are like strangers out there using it. And then like, that's kind of
dope.
Really
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it took me a while for it to really dawn on me. It was like, once I got the numbers back and realizing like, there are real legitimate strangers who Googled something to find the middle point, found us, downloaded, committed, and are using it. Like, we're seeing like they're using it, they're finding results, it's generating, like, we solve problems for people that we don't even know. And that's kind of always a nice thing to carry around with you.
No, it's huge. I feel like helping people just gives the best form of pleasure.
Yeah, right?
Like, I get it a lot from personal training. I feel like it's like selfish, the feeling that you get when you help someone feel good about their like own body and feel good in their own skin. And then, like, for example, this podcast too, like, it hit a few thousand downloads like the other day, and I was like, whoa, like, that's cool. Similar feeling to what you had,
right?
You know, I'm just like, why is that happening? Like, how do is it just the social media, is it the promotions, is it like whatever, or are people actually liking, are they actually using it for like the best of like what it's intended for?
See, that's what I was talking about, that little bit of like denial and doubt, like, this can't be, you know. And it took a while, but you're right. I think it's also like, as the creator of the thing, then your perspective changes. Like, you don't really get to enjoy the glory for long. It's more like, how do I keep this afloat? How do I compete? How do I make it better? You know,
that high never lasts. I don't know why. Like, you always get to that thing, and then you're just like, what's next? And I really like this quote. It's I forgot who it's by. I forgot who it's by, but it's like, desire is the contract you make to yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want.
Say that again?
Desire is the contract you make to yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. Right?
Yeah.
So every time, like, especially out here, like, you achieve something, you're like, oh, that's dope. Now I found something X, and I'm really like just bummed until I get it. I mean, not really, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, also I think part of it too is like, if you really have a business strategy, you're realizing that it's one of the many steps that you had to complete to get to your overall goal. So it's not even like I reached it done, because there's never really a done, is what I've found out. Like, I would always work to be done.
But not a lot of people have that mentality, bro. Like, where do you think that comes from? What's the motivation that like gets you to that point of like, what's next? Because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, like, I'm good, I'm chilling, like, this is my next. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know where it comes from. For me, it's I know I'm dying. Like, I'm just to me, like, I know I have a limited amount of time on this planet, and like, I want to get as much out of it as possible. If not, like,
I don't know why people don't think that though. Like, I mean, it sounds kind of, I don't know if this sounds bad. Like, I think about death all the time, dude. Like, I mean, especially like, if you read Stoic teachings like Nietzsche or Socrates or Seneca, or, you know, and it's like, yo, you're gonna die, do more, you know. That's really it.
Right.
You know, I was like, if that's not the motivation case, like when people say they sleep in all the time and like they are watching like 20 Netflix shows in a row, which is fine. Like if you're entertained, you're entertained. But like if it's just like literally doing nothing, that like just baffles me sometimes because I'm just like, whoa. Like,
Yeah. There's like, because there is doing nothing, and there's like also relaxing, which appears like you're doing nothing too, right? Like to me, a week on a beach is a form of doing nothing that's actually like really productive, where I'm like disconnected. And my friend Elizabeth Godley has a great farming analogy that she equates to creativity. She's like, she's like, Derrick, it's not always harvest time. Sometimes you have to water the seeds and let them grow. And so there is like a little bit of like respite where you need to recharge and you need to let your mind and body reset. And like those nothings I can get behind.
Yeah.
It's the,
How important do you think those nothings are?
Oh my God, so important.
Really?
Like,
Why?
Yeah, because like I said, you have to like give your body a chance, your body and your mind a chance to.
Yeah. What's that fine point though? Like, like that week might be for you, right? Some people it's like 3 months. Some people it's like 2 days. Like, like there's no direct like, what's the 51% of you like doing your nothing for like nothing's sake versus nothing for like recovery's sake?
Oh man.
You know, like
Yeah.
it objectively, like it should be around the same for everybody, but some people it could be like years.
That's true. That's true.
You know, so like that's why I question you in that aspect because I'm just like maybe is it just all bullshit?
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I really don't know. I'm just trying to find your perspective on it.
Usually, like, because like whenever I try and do nothing, something comes up anyway.
Yeah.
The moment that I'm like, I get rest, am at peace, have had a chance to like really indulge in the things that people like mostly say they miss on their deathbeds, like relationships, love, spending time with the people that we care about. Once that cup is full again, my brain goes, what about this zombie idea? You know, and I'm like, oh yeah, what about that zombie idea? And then, you know, and then I'm like, well, I'm gonna make a little note on my phone, and then I'm gonna make a few more notes on my phone at the bar after a Mai Tai, and then all of a sudden I have this really strong feeling about this zombie script that I've got to talk to this director about, who's also been itching to shoot.
Dude, I love that concept because I feel like if all those boxes are checked, like family life, health, social, resting, like once those are checked off, that's when like all the ideas come that you can focus on them. Because like when some shit's going on in the background, or like my car is broken, or like some bill isn't paid or whatever, like you can't focus on those ideas.
Yeah.
You can't focus on the zombies, dude.
Yeah, and even if you do, you feel guilty. Like, what am I doing talking about zombies with Nate whenever I know that I need an oil change if I'm ever going to get to work on time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept because a lot of people, I feel, don't get to express their creative potential because they don't have their boxes crossed off. Mm-hmm. You know?
I get that. I get that a lot. Yeah. And, you know, like starting writing projects with people. Like, oh, you want to write something together? Sure, let's collaborate. And we'll get to the structure. We'll get to, and, you know, we'll get to maybe a first draft. And then whenever it comes time to rewrite, somebody, you know, gets sick, gets married, decides they're going to move, gets a new dog, gets pregnant, whatever it is. And then things like have a tendency to fall off because...
Yeah. The biggest thing I love about people out here and who I really respect, and I appreciate that you came here on time, is that like it's not that hard. Just do what you say you're going to do, you know? And like everyone will enjoy the experience of you on this planet better.
Yeah. And that's also why I'm very cautious about saying what I'm going to do. I have to be really sure about it.
Yes. Because like... Actually, the biggest reason I always said for probably like a year and a half, 2 years, like I was going to start a podcast, right? And then it got to the point where my friends were like, where's it at, bro? And I was like, oh, I gotta do it now.
Wait a minute, because I was listening to this podcast in preparation for the podcast, and I was listening to Kevin Yang.
Okay, which the recent one?
The most recent one, and he said that you guys just were sitting on the couch high one day, and then he was like, "We have to do it now."
No, well, he was like, "We could just record it right now," and then I was like, "I guess let's do it." It was during COVID, and it was with a shitty mic, bro. I didn't have like the setup I have right now, and that's the biggest thing is like just failing and getting better every single day at something, because no one knows what they're doing, and it's just a big game, and you're just trying to figure it out.
Oh, that reminds me. I went to see this Q&A of the movie Sorry to Bother You. It's kind of like this absurdist dark comedy. And the director was talking about how he went to a Sundance workshop and had a bunch of industry professionals helping him with this script. Yeah. And he said, I would take it to this one person, and they'd say this, this, and this. And I'd take it to another person, they'd say, not this, this, and this, 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 and this. Mm-hmm. And then he said, like, after the first week or so, I just realized no one knows what they're talking about. And y'all, then he looked at the audience. He's like, just so you know, the game is open. The game is open. Yeah. It's a free-for-all. If you can just start making something, you stand equally as good of a chance.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, no one knows what they're doing, but some people have figured out better pathways to get to where they're at, if that makes sense. Because, like, if you know how to make $1 million, you can make $1 million, right? Me and you don't know how to make $1 million. That's why we don't have $1 million. Mm-hmm. You know, there's why are a lot of, like, I guess upper middle class families have upper middle class kids, like, because they know the formula for it. Yeah. You know, or for example, why are sports players' kids professional sports players as well? Yeah. Because they know the formula to get there. Like, they were taught it. They got a huge, like, cut versus, like, I don't know, if I wanted to be a professional soccer player, I wouldn't know where to start. Yeah. You know, and I didn't grow up, like, with a ton of dope soccer playing family members or, you know? Yeah. So the formula is there. You just have to find it for anything, really.
Right. And also money helps. Yeah. You know, money and networking, like, they know those people who are already industry famous, like, are already well connected, and are probably already rich, so they can afford to bring their kids to, like, the best camps, or, like,
schools too.
Schools, you know, like, growing up in Louisiana, I doubt you would have ever, like, gone to a world-class soccer camp in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, you know, but
I heard good things about Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah, okay, excellent, because I haven't, and I'm from there.
Never mind then. You're like, take that back now.
Yeah, the moment Baton Rouge, Louisiana becomes famous for soccer, please let me know.
Oh, I didn't say soccer.
Oh, what were we talking about?
I was just saying I heard good things about Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah, Baton Rouge in itself is good. It's the state capital. It's the state capital. They got stuff going on.
So
there's LSU football.
It's just not great soccer over there. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, if we have a soccer team, I don't even know what they're called.
That's hilarious. What got you into reading, bro? Because it sounds, just even talking to you right now, you're pretty well read.
Oh, I don't know. I like the feeling that you get after finishing a book. And only in my adult life had I started reading books and becoming, like, very judgmental, being like, getting a couple chapters into being like, this is not worth my time. I'm going to actually set this down and say, not a good book, moving on to something else. Yeah. And so, I don't know. I've just always enjoyed it. And then whenever you're an actor, you have to read a bunch of screenplays. Yeah. And then if you're really, like, into acting and your character references something in a screenplay and you're like, well, I'm going to go watch that, or I'm going to go read that. Sure. So I know what perspective they're talking about. They're coming from. Yeah. And I've always enjoyed philosophy too. Yeah. Like, just any sort of, like, existentialist thinking outside of, like, the micro. Yeah, like, why do we believe the things that we believe? Epistemology. Yeah. Right? So I'm really interested in epistemology. And have you ever heard of street epistemology? No. Street epistemology is awesome. I think it was maybe the godfather of it is his last name is Boghossian. I want to say his first name might be Eric Boghossian, or that might be this. it doesn't matter, but it's essentially a conversational tool for having impossible conversations. Like, you know how they used to say never talk about religion, sex, or politics at dinner. You know, like all of those things that are touch points for most people, or triggering for most people. It's being able to talk in a conversational way about that and approaching it as if you know nothing. So it would be basically I would ask you for your claim, and your claim could be anything. You could say, I believe that there is one Christian triune God.
Sure.
I believe Donald Trump is
the best president, the worst president,
whatever it is. And it's like, okay, so that's your claim. And then give me your reasoning. I believe in that statement because this reason. And then and the last
the thing with those two, though, a lot of people will answer, I believe because it is true.
Well, that's the third part is, and that's the third part is like, and what evidence do you have to support that? And is that evidence good enough for you to believe the claim and support that reasoning?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole science aspect of philosophy. Like, science is the faith that the future behaves like the past. Right? You know, it's just like, why do you believe in gravity? Because you drop so many fucking apples. And like, then one way was Platonian. It's like, I forgot the case of the apple, but then so many things happen again that now it's Einsteinian gravity. The science changed over time because the repetitions, so many happened that changed the philosophy of the whole fact. Does that make sense?
I guess. Well, you're saying that like Newtonian physics evolved because...
No, the definition of gravity.
The definition of gravity is evolved.
It evolved from Platonian? Or Newtonian. Newtonian to Einsteinian.
I see.
I think. Does that make sense?
Is that because Newton had the most fundamental understanding of gravity, while like Einstein like detected gravitational waves or theorized that gravitational waves exist?
Yes.
I see. Yeah, I get that. But that's the best part about the scientific method is that we are allowed to change the definitions of things as we get more knowledge, and you know, like the scientific method right now, I believe, is the best method for determining what we believe to be true. Or is in consensual reality is another way to say it. But
sorry, what were you saying about not the philosophy, the questioning of beliefs? What's that called?
Oh, street epistemology.
Street epistemology, okay.
And I highly recommend anybody just going on YouTube, type in like Anthony Street Epistemology. There's this guy named Anthony Magnabosco who goes to like college campuses and just has like 4-minute conversations with people. And he uses the method every time. And it's the same thing over and over again. But it's also what it does do is it introduces healthy skepticism, and it doesn't make anybody feel
attacked.
Yes. Exactly, because you're approaching everything as a question, as if like you're a third grader and like you know something that is true, and I want to know what's true. So teach me, how did you find out that this is true, and tell me in these steps. And like through those steps you unveil.
I love that because one day I was working at the gym. I was like a front desk person at UCLA, the grad school gym, and I was with another person in the front, and I think Donald Trump just got elected, right? And she was like not yelling, but like in the back room, like kind of frustrated. She was like, I hate everyone with all my heart who voted for Donald Trump. They're assholes. They're X, Y, and Z. And I was just like kind of confused because like I came from a conservative like family and like city in Fresno, California, and I know plenty of people who voted for Trump. Like some people in my family, and I was like, like are all my family and friends who voted for Trump assholes? Like, and I was just really confused. I was like, why does she think that even though she doesn't know my family or some friends that I know, right? Regardless. And so I asked her, I was like, why do you think all those people are assholes, and like she couldn't give me like a direct reasoning. And like I was like, from my perspective, like a lot of people voted based on certain aspects. Like some people just because of religion, like you said, just for the Second Amendment, right? If that's super important to them. And same thing on the left. All my friends, a couple of my friends here who voted for like Biden, the only reason why they voted for Biden is because they're gay. That's the only reason. And I was like, So like you have to figure out people's like them explaining it to you is really interesting. If you come from a third grader perspective, you're like, oh, like you're talking to your friend like you don't know anything. Like, why do you believe in this? And he gives like a ridiculous example about like why you should like wake up every morning and do 1,000 jumping jacks, or it could be anything.
Yeah. And I think we could learn a lot from third graders, right? Approaching the innocence, but also like one of those things that I would have picked up on that I try and pay attention to now is absolutism. Whenever
it's 100%.
Whenever somebody uses an absolute term, like everybody who voted for, and like the first thing I go is like everybody, really?
Everybody. Yeah. I kind of, those people, when they say everybody, it's 100%, it's a fact, like, I kind of just stay away from it.
Exactly. Well, I was going to say, that's a social red flag for me. It's like I try not to roll my eyes in their face. Like, really? Everybody? 100%? You figured it out. Okay. Excellent.
Dude, what's this no drinking alcohol for acting thing?
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's your regimen, or what is it called?
No, it's just something that I do. Like, I have a movie coming up. We're starting to shoot like on August 4th.
Okay. Are you allowed to say what it's called?
I can. However, film titles are subject to change, just so everybody knows. But right now, it's tentatively titled "I Watched You Become Death."
I watched you become death. That's very captivating.
Yes, I think so too. And it's kind of analogous to the Warren Jeffs FLDS cult story, where the main character is actually, her name is Charlotte. She's a Brazilian girl who grew up in one of these FLDS communes, and it's her coming of age story. Okay. And to give more away than that might ruin the plot, I'm not sure. But I do play somebody significantly older than her. She's supposed to be a 15-year-old. And I am supposed to, at some point in the script, become her husband. And she'll be like my third wife or something like that. And
Lit.
It's her awakening to like understand like that there's a life outside of this commune, and what life she's going to choose and how she's going to fight to get it. Yeah.
But back to the no drinking before.
Oh, right. So that has to do with just pure narcissism. Like whenever you drink, it's bloating, you know, and it just like shows up on camera.
You think so?
Oh, I know so.
Really?
I worked on a film, and I will not name the actor, who would go out drinking every night before shooting. Yeah. You know, he would just go out to the bar, try and pick up on the locals, whatever, and then he would come in the next morning and he would look pretty haggard, and I would hear the makeup girls audibly just voice their frustrations about like, I don't know how to do makeup well enough to hide the swollen features of his face and all this kind of stuff. And then like they had to have
drinking too much.
He was drinking.
You should not be drinking that much.
He was not. Yeah, exactly. But also like then it made more work for the lighting guys. They're like, well, we have to put his face in shadow and like make sure that no light gets under his chin, so you don't see the extra jowly stuff. It just made more work for everybody else. And ever since then, I've been really conscious about it, and so whenever I know I'm about to be on camera, I just don't do it.
Nice. Well, I'll have to make you a cocktail next time.
Yeah, absolutely, because come August 26th, shots all day.
Shots all day?
Shots all day.
Are you a shots guy?
Not really.
What's your drink of choice when you go out?
My drink of choice is a French 75.
You like French 75s?
Well, I have a pride of New Orleans cocktails. I might not like football or whatever, or LSU or whatever.
New Orleans cocktails.
But New Orleans cocktails have a very dear place in my heart.
What other New Orleans cocktails there that you like?
The Voucouré.
Okay. What's? Oh fuck! I forgot what's in that.
It's like a rye Benedictine.
Yeah, that's what it was. I couldn't make a lot of them because Benedictine's hard to come by.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But also a Sazerac.
Sazerac's fire.
Love a Sazerac, yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of places don't have the black licorice, the Nice liqueur.
Yeah.
You know, for that. So those are hard to find too, unless you're at a nice spot.
Yeah, maybe if I come across some Benedictine, I know it'll have a nice home here. I'll bring you some.
Thanks, dude. What do you call it? What are you most excited for in your life right now? Like, I
have a lot actually. One is always Findaspot because like it's always growing and changing, and I'm always on top of it. So that's I've constantly is on my mind. But two, shooting this movie I'm really excited about, and then shooting another movie in January. But we're going to be doing some fundraising for the next couple months to raise money to shoot that movie in January. It's going to be
how do you fundraise for movies?
Well, one is like there's a lot of film financing companies out there that are just a Google away. You just need to have like a pitch deck ready to go.
Really?
Yeah. Or you can just do good old boots to the ground, friends and family, Kickstarter, Seed and Spark, Indiegogo. Do it that way.
And a lot of people use those?
A lot of people use those, especially independent filmmakers. It's really hard to get into
how much is it?
Heavy money.
How much is it to like produce? Is produce the right word?
Yeah, sure.
Produce a really good quality film in terms of just like shots, audio, all that. Like, but bare minimum, but really good. You know what I'm saying?
It depends on your level of talent. Like for instance,
so you have all good actors.
We have it's not even good actors but good actors really help obviously, but it's about like the talent behind the camera, the crew, who has an eye for composition, who can decorate the shit out of a set for nothing, who knows how to light so beautifully that they can make an iPhone shot look great, you know? And so it goes back to that level of deception. Like how do we take each frame that we shoot and make it look movie quality good? And we've done that before. We've done 2 independent features. The first one we made with a lot of time and very little money. We we shot it for like $800, and it got into Dances with Films, and it looked awesome. Great. You know, it was like a very intense character study. And then the second one, we had a budget of closer to like, let's say $5,000. And that also still took a lot of time and a lot of ingenuity and a lot of like pulling favors, but we just really like wouldn't roll on anything that wasn't gold, is a saying that we have on set. Like if it doesn't look like the best work that we're capable of doing, and we're not going to put it out there, then we're not going to hit the record button. And so like that's what we would do. We would shoot something being like, it looks fine, but fine isn't good enough. So let's relight it. Let's this is the time where we take the money and add the special effect to make it look good, or
How many actors out here just act for like their friends' gigs and stuff like that? Because I feel like to start off with like this, make a movie, you have to have like friends work for free. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the other great part about being out in Los Angeles, is that there are a ton of people who have all these dreams, and they're like, well, if you're not going to give me money, then just feed me. Like that's the best thing you could do, is like if you're an independent filmmaker and you have no way to pay people, at least feed them. Give them coffee, give them food, whatever. And then people will show up for the opportunity. If they like the script and the story and you can make them look like a rock star on screen, people will turn up. You can't do that indefinitely. How do you promote that? Like, cause like how do you find these actors?
How do you find you throw a rock in Los Angeles and you'll hit one for sure. But a lot of the times, like, I mean, you know, I came here and I started.
But like good ones, like when you're trying to like hit friends up for like, you have a story, you have this idea, like you have camera guys now, you have this budget. You're like, okay, I have this idea in my head. How do I find like my actors?
Well, luckily, I've taken a lot of acting classes in LA.
Oh, okay.
And so not only are you working on your craft yourself, but you're also getting a sense for like who's really good in your class.
Yeah.
And like if so I have a document that's a running roster of everybody that I've ever worked with or want to work with from my acting classes that I know will do a good job.
What's the benefit of having acting classes out here versus the acting classes that you had at LSU?
The benefit is that LSU versus Los Angeles is more industry focused.
Okay.
And so...
But what are these coaches teaching you that you couldn't like learn on your own?
Well, one, they just have all of the questions that that you don't know to ask yourself already.
Like what?
How are you typecast? How if I were to look at you,
dang, typecast is a thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's also really helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, like knowing what you can play. And there are very few people who are just character actors who are like, I will do it all. It's like, no. Like get in where you fit in, get really good at that, and then expand out.
Okay.
But like an acting teacher will be like, you'll never play Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Derrick. You cannot take on that role.
Yeah.
What you should be doing is focusing on like...
Yeah, you can't grow 5 feet and change the color of your skin.
Exactly. So how about you, instead of you trying to like Daniel Day-Lewis this thing, you play this like young executive, like Wolf of Wall Street kind of thing.
Sure.
Like, oh yeah.
You could pass as Leo. I could totally see you there.
But see what I mean? Like that people, you say, oh, that makes sense.
That makes totally sense.
And then like if you go in for that right role and people say, oh, that guy makes sense, I'm more likely to be cast in that role.
Yeah.
And then also, aside from the scene work, they're also helping you, if you get a really good acting coach, they're helping you prepare for the day on set.
Yeah.
Like having all of your beats outlined and then having a bunch of choices to choose from. Like you don't want to go on set and then...
So it's more of like a guide. It's someone guiding you in the right direction versus like enhancing your skills, your hard skill set.
Yeah. I mean, think about it as like a personal trainer too. Like everybody has a concept of like what it means to lift weights.
Sure.
But if you did it with a personal trainer, they'd be like, actually, you're not lifting with your bicep, you're swinging your arm, and that does you no good. And you're like, oh, thanks for that
guidance.
Yeah, thanks for that guidance.
Same way.
Yeah.
What does acting do for you? Like, how does it make you feel? Like, what satisfaction do you get out of it?
I don't know. Like, I always feel like I want to do it, and then whenever I get cast, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
No, because like for me, not an actor, like objectively looking at the whole situation is like, why would you want to pretend to be someone else?
Oh man, I don't know. It's always been fun, you know. It was like a process of turning what was fun for me as a kid into a career that pays me or a job that pays me. Like I would always play pretend with my friends, like running around in the woods and like play different accents.
Why do you think so many people have that desire to do that?
I don't know, but whenever people don't have to focus on work, they have a tendency to work on creative things.
No, I know.
And it doesn't necessarily always mean acting. Some people are literary and they like want to write a story, or some people want to build a table out of driftwood or whatever it is. But there's something innately fascinating about like just being able to be creative. And like I said, like if you don't have to worry about like work or life drama, that's usually where the brain goes. And so like for me, like whenever my brain gets a chance to go back there, it's a relief. It's like being a kid again. It's like this isn't work, it's a craft that I enjoy, and what a great way to zone out and spend my time and play around with other like-minded people.
What's your advice to someone who wants to do that? Like they're just stuck in their 9-to-9 job or 9-to-5 job, or just doing something that they totally not enjoy, but they have this craving to like act, write stories, and do what they want to do.
Yeah, I would just say find a way to get up on stage and do it. Like And if you have a 9 to 5 job and you're like, I'm not giving up my job to be an actor, fine. But you can also, improv. You don't have to memorize any lines. It's a sense of play. It's a sense of getting up on stage and you're still being performative.
That scares the fuck out of
and
me,
collaboration. True, yeah, but like after you do it a little while, it's just another.
Do you butterflies still?
I haven't done improv in a while, so I probably would. But then after that, they would probably go away. My butterflies have transmorphed into like nervous energy, like anticipation. Like,
what do you think that nervous energy butterflies like derives from, bro? Because like you get this feeling, and like I don't know, like some people shake, some people,
it's the realization of impending judgment. Like you're like, oh, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be fun.
Why do we as humans like just care so much? Like everyone thinks so, dude.
Well, I mean, why do we care? I mean, like I think because
I try my best to just like be like the person who I look up to, like, or will look up to. And regardless of like anything that society says or friends say or anything like that. But in the hindsight, subconsciously is like, am I approved by them? Like, and it's not something that's like on the outside, and it's something that I feel like crosses my mind very little now, but it's still there.
I think it's something really primal, like Jane Goodall studying primates for most of her life.
Yeah.
And that's the closest thing relative to human beings that we can study and like learn about ourselves in like a wild capacity.
Yeah.
But whenever Jane Goodall was studying apes and chimpanzees, it was very obvious that the people who climbed the ranks of their group were people who were cooperative. It's very important to like fit in, because no one does it alone. And like if you are cast out of your group, if you're cast out of your family,
your tribe,
your chances of mortality, your rate of mortality, just.
Yeah, I mean, that is very primal, but there's also the non-primal part of it. Like something good happens to you, right? You want to tell your wife. You want to tell your friends. Something bad happens to you. You want to tell your wife. You want to tell your friends.
Yeah.
And that's not primal, I don't think. Like, I feel like that's just like you want to tell somebody.
Yeah, right. Where we are. I mean, that's the thing. We are a communal species.
Yeah.
Like, I get joy out of going to work every day, not because of the work, but because of the people that I work with.
Okay, dude, I wanted to ask you that because this dude, Derrick, you always have like a great attitude. Every time I see you, it's like smile on your face, like, and you're just like hyped, ready to go, like unbothered by even some like highly, people who like need everything from you. The clientele, right? And you unfazed. And I'm just like, how does this dude do it? In my head, I think about it all the time, bro.
Because I don't care about them. You know what I mean? Like I clock in and I clock out, and at the end of the day, it's just a meal. Yeah. Like if something goes wrong or they didn't get the right glass to go with the right kind of wine, like nobody died.
Yeah.
No, did anybody die? No.
Yeah.
No. I'm still employed. They still got fed.
Yeah.
The company still got money, and we're just gonna move on. Like they're never gonna
just another day
think about it a day after that.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of people who let that energy get to them and like ruin not necessarily their day, but even their week or month, bro. Like it just sucks to see sometimes.
I just don't want anybody else to have that kind of power over me, especially somebody that I don't know. It's just so like you already made like this hour, let's say, difficult, but like if you make my week difficult, then you've really won, and I cannot have that.
Yeah. Where did you get that mentality from?
Years of serving. I mean, I used to like, I don't know, just used to probably care more than I do now. And now it's just like, I don't know. Like I've just, you meet so many people
who served and done like hospitality, like are just more self-aware of like the type of people in this world, and they're less bothered. But even though like some people we know are just extremely bothered, but like it's taught me so many lessons of like, hey, like you don't know what people are going through. They could be just like throwing like emotional strikes at you, and it's not you, bro. You know, and you have to be self-aware of that, because that could happen with your friends or your family and your loved ones, and they're throwing emotional strikes at you, and it's not meant to hurt you.
Yeah. And, you know, we have a luxury with friends and family where if sometimes like the people who you care about most feel comfortable like lashing out. I'm not saying that it's good.
Sure.
But I'm saying like there is a little bit of give because true friends and family have staying power, and you can be a little bit more.
They could hit
honest.
hard and and tolerate it.
Yeah, exactly. Or you've known somebody long enough to know that whenever I say this, their first emotional reaction is not going to be good, but I'm going to give them 10 minutes. They're going to calm down. They're going to be rational again. Like, because you've established that relationship and that protocol because you grew up with, or, you know, have spent significant time with somebody.
Yeah.
But
it could be just patterns and everything like that as well.
Yeah.
Just like you're stuck in this pattern of like, come home, wife and husband fight, then they make up, and then it's repetitive. Like you see that same storyline for a lot of like people all the time, and they just repeat the same habits, and they're just like, oh, it just is, when it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then those people come in and they order chicken piccata or whatever. And then it's your problem now.
Yeah, dude, how do you I guess like split your attention, because like you're doing this Findaspot, you're doing your acting, and you're producing and writing and all of the above, and I feel like it's really hard to like make a lot of them good, like what we were talking about in the beginning. And I have the same problem in like everything that I'm doing. I'm just like, where do I split that attention? Like where should I put it to make the most benefit for just myself and everyone around me, you know?
Yeah. I'll tell you the two things that I do. Number one, Google Calendar. Calendar. Like I have all of my time slots in the
like
day always filled with something, but I know exactly, but everything has its place, and that kind of organization helps. And then two is delegation. It's like the further I got into producing, the more I realized you just can't do everything alone. It's impossible. You need a team, you need a team, you need a team. And so then it's about like finding other people who are just as hungry as you and are willing to take on as many responsibilities as you.
Yeah.
Then all of those responsibilities get cut in half, and you have a little more time for more things.
Yeah. Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's good enough.
Oh my goodness.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Derrick, thanks for coming on, dude. I appreciate you. Where can everyone find you? So Findaspot at the App Store, right?
Yeah, you can download Findaspot on Google Play and the Apple App Store. It's all one word. And then if you want to check out links to the movies that I produced, you can go to DerrickDenicola.com. That's DerrickDenicola.com.
And then same Instagram, right? Yeah, there's a link there.
Yeah, and then I'm on Instagram at Derrick Denicola.
Cool.
Yeah.
Guys, go check him out. Check his shorts. If you want to check out the app, yeah, go do that. Find a spot.
Yeah, baby.
All right, peace. Bye.
Dope.